Imagine being trapped on a Viking longship in the middle of the North Atlantic. Freezing rain, black water, no cabins, no shelter, no fresh fruit, just 30 men rowing into a gray, endless ocean. Most people think Vikings died by the sword, in raids, battles, or storms. But one of the greatest threats at sea was not steel. It was not the weather. It was a microscopic deficiency that could make a man's gums rot, his teeth loosen, his blood vessels burst, and old scars tear open while he was still alive. We know it today as scurvy. You do not just die from scurvy. Your body physically dismantles itself. And here is the mystery. Centuries later, scurvy would devastate the great naval empires of Europe. But long before citrus rations, long before modern nutrition, Vikings were crossing the North Atlantic, reaching Iceland, Greenland, and even North America. So, how did they survive without a single lemon or lime on board? Welcome to the Green Domain, where ancient wisdom meets modern science. If you want forgotten remedies explained through real biology instead of myths, subscribe. Now let us uncover the plants that may have helped Vikings survive the deadliest disease at sea. But to understand why this mattered so much, you have to understand what scurvy actually destroys. It does not strike suddenly. It creeps into the body, disguising itself as simple fatigue. It begins with a deep, crushing, inescapable exhaustion. A sailor would find himself too weak to pull the oars. His muscles would ache with a dull, heavy throbbing. Then, the biological horror begins. Scurvy is a failure of collagen. Collagen is the structural protein that holds your skin together, keeps your blood vessels intact, and anchors your teeth into your jaw. To manufacture this biological glue, your body requires one absolute non-negotiable ingredient, ascorbic acid, vitamin C. Without it, the production of collagen completely stops, and the glue begins to dissolve. Centuries later, during the Age of Sail, this exact disease would slaughter entire fleets. It is estimated that over 2 million sailors in the British, Spanish, and Portuguese navies died of scurvy. It brought the greatest maritime empires the world had ever seen to their knees. Yet, the Viking fleets navigated these exact same brutal waters centuries earlier. Journeys that took weeks, sometimes months, on the open, unforgiving water. They did it through a profound understanding of their native environment. Before the Viking fleets launched into the deep, endless ocean, they hugged the rugged, frozen coastlines of Scandinavia. And along these freezing shores, they utilized their first line of botanical defense. The coastal forests were packed with towering, resilient pine trees. To a modern eye, a pine tree is just timber for building homes. But to an ancient Norse healer, it was a pharmacy hiding in plain sight. The Vikings would harvest the vibrant green needles from the eastern white pine, or the native spruce. They would gather them by the handful, crush them to release the potent oils inside, and steep them in boiling water over a crackling campfire. They were making pine needle tea. It was a bitter, earthy, intensely aromatic brew. The Norse did not know the molecular chemistry behind this ritual. They had no concept of vitamins or cellular biology, but they knew the result. A warrior who drank this bitter brew did not lose his teeth in the dead of winter. His scars did not open. His joints remained strong enough to hunt, build, and fight. Today, modern science tells us exactly why. Some fresh pine needles can contain remarkably high levels of vitamin C, in some cases rivaling or exceeding citrus by weight. It is a massive, concentrated dose of ascorbic acid, engineered by nature to survive the freezing temperatures, waiting to be unlocked by boiling water. But as the Viking ambitions grew, a massive logistical problem emerged. Pine needles degrade. Once plucked from the living tree, they eventually dry out, turn brown, and lose their life-saving chemical potency. And more importantly, you cannot grow a pine forest on a wooden longship. When the fleets decided to leave the safety of the coastlines behind and set sail for the terrifying expanse of the open Atlantic, they needed something far more durable, something portable, something that could survive for months wrapped in animal skins. Pelted by salt spray and freezing rain, they needed the ultimate botanical survival tool. Deep in the damp subarctic meadows and river valleys of northern Europe, a striking, almost alien-looking plant grows. It is massive, often towering up to 6 feet tall. It features thick, hollow, purple-tinted stems and produces massive, spherical clusters of tiny, greenish-white flowers that bloom outward like a botanical fireworks display. Modern botanists call it Angelica archangelica. Historical records show Angelica was so valued in medieval Scandinavia that strict laws protected its cultivation and punished its theft. In the medieval Norwegian legal code known as the Gula Thing, written over 1,000 years ago, if a man was caught trespassing to steal Angelica plants, he was subjected to severe, crippling fines. It was actively cultivated, fiercely guarded, and treated with absolute reverence. Because when the time came to cross the ocean, Angelica may have been one of the differences between surviving the voyage and slowly falling apart at sea. Before a long voyage, Viking crews would harvest the thick, heavy, tuberous roots. They would carefully dry them, wrap them in waxed leather to protect them from the seawater, and pack them tightly into the wooden hulls of their ships. When the fleet was 3 weeks out, surrounded by nothing but the terrifying gray horizon, the navigator would order the opening of the Angelica reserves. The sailors would take these dried, hardened roots, and they would simply chew on them. The taste is intense. It is sharp, bitter, highly aromatic, with a flavor somewhere between licorice, celery, and black pepper. As they chewed, the chemical compounds locked inside the dried root were released directly into their saliva and absorbed into their bloodstream, and their bodies had a fighting chance of maintaining the collagen they needed to survive. But here is where the botanical genius of the Vikings truly outshines the rest of the ancient world. They did not just choose Angelica because it prevented their teeth from falling out. Life on a longship was unimaginably brutal. Muscles tore from the endless rhythmic strain of rowing. Wounds festered in the damp, unsanitary, salt-soaked conditions. Respiratory infections ripped through the tightly packed crews. Angelica archangelica did not just provide the missing vitamins. Today, when we isolate this forgotten root in a modern laboratory, we find a staggeringly complex chemical profile. It may have provided some of the plant chemistry and nutrients that helped protect against deficiency, but the root also contains high concentrations of a unique organic compound called phelendrine. Phelendrine is a highly effective, natural anti-inflammatory. When the Viking sailors chewed the root, this compound acted as a mild, natural painkiller for their aching, overworked joints. Even more incredibly, the complex essential oils trapped inside the root are fiercely antimicrobial and antibacterial. Chewing Angelica acted as an ancient, highly potent mouthwash. It killed the bacteria that thrived in the unwashed conditions of the ship, preventing horrific dental infections. These volatile oils also act as an expectorant. When the men breathed in the sharp, aromatic scent of the chewed root, it opened their airways, clearing their lungs and protecting their respiratory systems from the freezing, damp sea air. It worked like a survival kit. Key nutrients, aromatic oils, antimicrobial compounds, and anti-inflammatory plant chemistry packed into a single root that could survive a 6-month journey across the most violent ocean on Earth. Take a moment to process the scale of this historical reality. The Vikings are universally remembered as the most brutal, iron-forged warriors of the medieval world. We attribute their legendary expansion to violence, steel, and unyielding aggression. But their ability to discover Iceland, to settle Greenland, to reach the shores of North America centuries before the rest of Europe, that ability was not fueled solely by violence. It was fueled by careful, meticulous, brilliant botanical science. The terror of the North was built on wooden longships, but it was kept alive by a delicate green flower and a cup of pine needle tea. The next time you walk through a forest or see a wild, overgrown herb growing in the damp earth, do not just walk past it. You are not just looking at a weed. You are looking at the exact biological technology that allowed ancient humans to conquer the edges of the earth. Ancient wisdom, modern proof, real results. I will see you in the next one.